Hey guys, and welcome to my first review of 2019 UK Proving Grounds. This is of day one, and these teams are Team 7 versus Team 8, as they were called on day one. And this won my Twitter poll with 37% of the votes as the video that you'd most like to see, um, reviewed by myself. So we are going to look into this game, break down a bit of the draft, talk about some basic stuff, some more advanced stuff that hopefully definitely the players in the game, as well as other rookies watching these games, can either take with them into the rest of Proving Grounds or through just into their general kind of competitive careers. Um, okay, first of all, let's talk about the draft. Let's get straight into it. Um, First pick Zaya here, followed by the Kaiser, two highest priority AD carries for quite a while now. Um, I think because the priority on the Zaya, they've removed the Nautilus ban here, which actually creates less options for this Kaiser. Kaiser is very good, very strong paired with Nautilus. Nautilus provides a lot of backline CC, a lot of target selection for Kaiser marks or Kaiser passive stacks onto backline lockdown. Really, really good for Kaiser. Um, and also they take their highest priority jungler, in this case that's Lee Sin, and immediately answered by opposing early game jungler in Rek'Sai. Rakan is then locked in by blue team here, and Leona is the answer. This three-man, really, really powerful in the sense of it doesn't lock you into a style of composition, right? So Zyra Khan can play strong side. Anyone who's not familiar with the term strong side, weak side, strong side is your resource given side, the side you're giving resources to. Weak side is the side you're leaving more isolated, not giving you resources to so much. So Zyra Khan can actually play both, can play more passive, just to farm under tower, can actually play very aggressive, trying to win that lane. Rek'Sai is the bridge to facilitate Xayah to get to her 3-item spike, and that's going to be key for blue team here. Whereas Kai'Sa Leona is much more a strong side lane. I'm not a fan of weak side Leona, where Leona's passive in lane. She doesn't really offer too much in that sense, right? So um, she's all about being able to Zenith Blade forward, be very aggressive, um, nullify this Rakan's engages, and just be an all-round, just get in your face champion. If she can't do that, I think this champion is being played to a much lesser potential than it actually can be. Especially with Kai'Sa being a much more of a two-item champ, really hard spikes at 2 items, which is where she has like the leg up over the Xayah. She spikes an item earlier. So making the use of actually getting Kai'Sa there as fast as possible by being aggressive in this Leona lane, for me is really the way to play this Leona lane. So I've seen this throughout Proving Grounds a lot with a lot of these Leona lock-ins that they're locking in Leona because it's good into like Rakan or good in their matchup, but then they're playing it weak side and they're playing away from it. And for me, I personally wouldn't draft like that, especially seeing as this level of play, ease of execution is so valuable and so important. Um, just play to a win condition that's easy, you know. And Leona playing to Leona is something that teams can definitely do more of to make the most of this champion. We then see a couple of bans. Um, we see a Gangplank ban, very common uh, weak side top laner, right? Scales really, really well, can farm from range, can clear waves, really hard to dive at 6 with R, can facilitate the other side of the map also with the ultimate. Um, really, really powerful pick overall, and has fairly early spike in Triforce. So that champion's banned. That indicates that there's going to be a mid lane blind here and counter pick top lane here. Um, they lock in Orianna as their best choice of safe blind pick. Starts to facilitate a really strong team fight for man. Syndra is the answer. Syndra, really, really strong single target lockdown, as well as very, very good zone control. Kind of a jack of all trades in most sense. Does lots of things very, very well, and not many things very poorly, to be honest. Ornn is the blind pick jungler, blind pick top laner of choice. Uh, talking about weak side, really strong weak side top laner. Clears waves, scales very well, offers inflated gold income with the Ornn items post level 12, and just all round really strong team fighter. Doesn't matter if this Ornn falls behind or doesn't receive resources, which is a key fundamental for weak side champions, because Ornn will be on. Ornn always provides that team fight threat. Really strong team fights will always provide, provided he gets to level 12, which he should do, these items, and it doesn't actually matter if he falls behind or not. So I actually really, really like this comp overall. I think this comp does lots of things very well. Really strong team fight, really good 3-item spike. Spikes much earlier with this Syndra. Some really good Ornn items that they can upgrade into, and overall should have the team fight advantage, providing they can group. The Aurelia is locked in last pick for the red team here. That actually leaves this situation um, where they're going to want to play more over sides, but because of this Aurelia is not a weak side pick. So as I was speaking about, this is a clear strong side lane, Kai'Sa Leona. But then this is also really a strong side lane. So this is a lane you want to give your resources to, or at least isolate versus Ornn. And so now Lee is in a bit of a conundrum already from draft. He kind of either has to give this Aurelia resources, which leaves Leona Kai'Sa playing weak side. So they're going to be outscaled anyway by this Sire. But equally, now this Leona can't really just aggressively Zenith Blade forward all the time if they're going to play for this Aurelia, because um, Rek'Sai could be there and Leona and Lee Sin can't answer. Or if Lee Sin does decide to play for the Kai'Sa Leona and maximize the potential of this Leona, then there's a good chance that this Aurelia actually just falls behind the Ornn because Rek'Sai plays to shut down this Aurelia that they picked on strong side, and as a result, this Aurelia is just much more useless than this Ornn for a long period of the game. Whereas if Lee Sin ever tries to play for this Ornn and tries to shut down this Ornn, putting this Ornn behind really doesn't do too much, as we said. So I think there are better options for definitely for blue team here to win this game from a draft perspective. Not saying it can't be done with two strong sides, it definitely can, but it's much harder to do. And again, as I iterated to earlier, playing double strong side when you are in a tournament like this where ease of execution is so valuable or so important at this level of play, I think it's a little bit risky to do. Okay, so into the game then. We have a level 1 invade by blue side. It looks like they're going to do so champions with a dash like this. Gragas is another example, but off the top of my head, champions with a dash, you can just dash over, break the fan. So as you can see on the minimap here, there's a fan out by red team to try and cover all their entrances to see if an invade comes through. They obviously didn't expect the Rakan W infiltrate in the fan, and then they can just wait for the cooldown and make a play onto this guy. So obviously well thought out. I like proactivity from teams at this level. Actually thinking that the game starts um, straight from the off rather than just when you get to lane is really valuable for teams and helps them a lot. Okay, so the stream does go a bit laggy here, but Kai'Sa flashed. Again, already playing into the win conditions, right? So as we spoke about, this is now the strong lane. This is the strong side lane because they picked the Ornn, because they've created a weak side where they don't mind if it falls behind so much as long as they can invest their resources quite comfortably into this Rakan lane. Now their strong side is playing against a flashless Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa has no flash, obviously, and Khan, probably the strongest bot lane level 1 in the game, especially with W, can really actually punish this lane and gain the lead. And if this Zyra really gets the lead over this Kai'Sa, you're gonna see a situation where there's not going to be a point where Kai'Sa is actually stronger than Zyra in this game. You know, if the lead is enough. Talking about junglers then, quite likely that we'll see like a 3 camp clear on bot side, or on both junglers red side. So Lee Sin in his red side and Rek'Sai on his. So this gives you level 3 after 3 camps, the most gold, most experience. Also resets these camps as fast as possible, so you get the most amount of Krugs, most amount of Raptors as you can. What that should leave though is Rek'Sai with options, right? It gives it Rex an option to actually finish his clear into the top side, gives Lee an option to finish his clear in the bot side. But depending on priority, we may say something different, but we'll talk about that when it comes to it. For me, with regards to what they should be playing through and for, when I say playing through a lane, what I mean is actually using a lane as your catalyst to make proactive plays. And that's normally a lane that either has natural priority or has 2v2 strength. So I think the key obvious one for Rek'Sai is that he plays through this mid 2v2 strength. Syndra Rek'Sai really good setup ganks, especially on a mid laner without like natural inherent mobility. Super easy to blow this Orianna's flash in the early game, especially a level 3 Rek'Sai, right? He has so many ganking kind of pathways from mid lane beyond Raptors, from either side. The way he can tunnel facilitates good gank setup. So actually, I think that it should be very much about this Rek'Sai playing for mid lane to facilitate the Syndra push. And once the Syndra has natural push, whether that's through making Ori back, burning Ori's flash, burning Ori's pots, whatever, very much about moving into the bot side and controlling this bot side river. And then that just frees up this Zyra Khan to play as aggressive as they want, while also nullifying the Leona's ability to play aggressive. And really just leaves Lee Sin with playing towards this Aurelia. And hoping this Aurelia pressure is enough that it draws multiple people to try and stop it. But we'll see if that's the case. Just quickly check. Cool. So yeah, as we said, they're both doing very standard clears. They've seen Aurelia leash on top side, so that they know where Lee Sin started. Lee Sin started on his top side. Bot lane just pinged out wards for Rek'Sai, so he knows where it's warded. But they've both done red into Krugs. Well, yeah, you really have to be a little bit more respectful there as the Ornn who's not going to get level 2 first and just takes a really awful trade in into the wall and not catching the Aurelia. On the other hand, Zyra can't get level 2 first. Both junglers are about to finish their clear. Okay, something to tweak about them. Pathing wise, you'll notice Rek'Sai is just pathed into Botside River on the side where all his camps are cleared. And a lot of this is because Syndra has push, Zyra Khan have push, so it's actually just free for Rek'Sai to while his lanes maintain priority, to invade into Lee Sin's Botside jungle. And this is going to create kind of two options, right? Lee Sin either, I mean, there's no ward on this, so it depends on, he can expect this based off lanes movements, but Lee Sin really then is just gonna, the best thing for Lee Sin to do is actually just trade off with Rek'Sai, his blue side for Rek'Sai's blue side, and this just allows like Aurelia can always cover. She always has this push over Ornn in these early levels and the trade advantage. So Rek'Sai can't really stop this if he wants to. But what this does create is it does create a split map, and a split map. One would help Aurelia, right? Because she's not actually going to get punished for this. She's going to be in an isolated lane. So okay, job achieved for team 8. But for Team 7, it creates a situation where this Zyra Khan is also isolated, and they can play as aggressive as they want into this Leona Kai'Sa, and it's really hard for Leona to actually Zenith Blade forward, because in this instance, Rek'Sai is always going to be there first. What it also creates is a bit more of a safe space for both mid laners. Mid lane's actually going to become more isolated because of this, or should do, because both mid laners then have a pocket to play in the lane to. What I mean by pocket is they have a side of the lane that they can play to, which is much harder for junglers to affect, because, for instance, Syndra can play to the bottom side of the lane, knowing that Lee Sin can't come from there because Rek'Sai has full control of that bottom side, and vice versa for the Orianna. So what it means much more for the winning sides. It's all going to be about how much can Irelia get out of the lane in comparison to how much can Zyra Rakan get out of their lane. We'll see what the jungler's actual movements are. So Lee Sin actually isn't opting in for evade, but he is looking for a play on this mid lane. I think that so this is it okay? It's kind of okay. But I don't think it's great. And the reason I don't think it's great is because they don't have knowledge on Rek'Sai. For all they know, Rek'Sai could be here, and as Ori moves here, they just they kill this Ori, right? They just tunnel flash on Ori, and she dies for it. Or if Lee Sin Qs and lands on the Syndra, they punish. I don't know if Syndra has Scat of the Week, but if so, then all she has to do is hold it for the Lee Q, and there's no real kill threat. Okay, there you go. But that could have been really risky, especially since Rakan could be there too. You know, Rakan has bot lane priority, he can actually be there too. It's really, really hard to make that play. And that could have been much worse than it was. But what does now happen is that Lee Sin's now really behind tempo, right? He's just losing camps. And not recouping these camps of his own. So he loses his buff. Aurelia can still facilitate the Lee invade if he needs to. Okay, Lee got first blood on, is under tower really low, and actually got punished. Lee now has no flash, doesn't get the camp still, or he might actually go for the camp now. Okay. So this bit really needs to be coincided with jungler, and this tells me the communication is not quite there right now because Rek'Sai hasn't finished Gromp, right? So if you're going to make this play, either Rek'Sai just skips Gromp to tunnel here as you engage, or you do Gromp and you don't make the play. You can still make the play. Actually, yeah, I'm wrong. You can still make the play because you know the map is kind of split, and Lee can't be here. Trading HP is actually fine. But this is just a much more effective play in communication with the jungler. So this needs to be coordinated with Rek'Sai. That Rek'Sai tunnels in as you make this engage. Yeah, I mean that's such a free kill if Rek'Sai's there, and in actual fact, what looks like is going to happen is that they just trade Rek'Sai flash for sorry, they trade Leona flash and Kai'Sa heal for Rakan heal and Rek'Sai flash. Okay, so there is a lot of pressure being put on that Ornn at the moment, but it is Ornn, and he's going to force some CS behind, but he's still going to buy his items in lane, and he's still not going to worry about his recalls too much, and he's still got TP. Like, sorry, he's just using TP, but he's still going to buy his items in lane. He's actually going to be fine. At the moment, yes, there is an effective goal lead on teammate, so this Aurelia being ahead is good and really valuable, but this Leona pick which is picked to beat this Rakan, really isn't doing so right now. So we'll see how that plays out. So now it's going to be back to an unsplit map. There is a situation where, okay, so this wolf camp was actually cleared by Rek'Sai, but I assume he left a small wolf because it hasn't actually cleared on the minimap. His raptors are back up. But camps that aren't cleared so camps on first jungle path, like first clear, don't offer any bonus XP. So as a jungler, when you path in your first clear, if you fall behind in XP, or generally if you're a jungler and you fall behind in XP, so if you are XP behind your camp. So if you click on a camp, the camp level is higher than your current level. For every level that it is higher than you get 50 extra XP from the large monster. So for instance, Lee Sin's level 4, and say the average level of the game is level 6. Your camp will spawn at level 6, and as a result, you would get 100 XP from clearing that camp, 100 extra XP from clearing that camp. So that's what they call rubber banding, right? If you've ever heard the term rubber banding, it's where you slingshot um, back into the XP level. So like I said, so if the camp is level 6 and you are level 4, like Lee Sin is here, you would be in a situation where you get plus 100 XP. On the contrary, if you are a higher level than the camp, you get minus, I think it's minus 10% for every level. I believe. Maybe the math's slightly wrong, but I actually think it is minus 10% less experience per level that you're ahead of the camp. So in a situation like this, where the wolves haven't respawned, he's going to need to clear this little baby wolf and then wait 100 seconds before he even gets another wolf camp. Stuff like that in early games actually puts you so far behind that it's really unnoticed. Okay, I'd really like to see this Rek'Sai on reset be playing much more around this mid lane. Neither only Lee Sin's visit mid lane right now, and I think it should be very very much about the game plan. The game plan for me should be very much about how we use the Syndra as a catalyst to get this to put resources into this Zyra Khan lane, because you actually probably don't win this 3v3, right? If Lee Sin's bot lane and it's Zyra Khan bot lane, especially before 6. I don't think you actually win this 3v3 unless you play it really, really well. So, um, if both junglers just come bot lane, I think it's actually a bit of a mistake. And I think what Rek'Sai needs to do is desperately needs to path through mid, get Syndra priority, and then move into river, and then set up an area of control, and then look to punish bot lane. See, you can see, right? Like, I mean, let's just jump back slightly. But Lee Sin doesn't actually add much to this, right? But yeah, I mean, Lee Sin's addition to this is very, very little, and this happened. Okay, right. So this is just pure misplay, but the point I'm making is that if Rek'Sai is here, just here alone, you're in a bit of a coin flip 3v3, right? Which doesn't need to exist because you can use the pressure that the Syndra is having, the lane priority that the Syndra is having, to facilitate a better condition around the spot lane. So what should be happening, and what should have happened probably even twice by now, is that Rek'Sai should path through mid, doesn't need to kill the Orianna, doesn't need to. I mean, if that opportunity presents itself, obviously do it. But it's more about allowing the Syndra to be pushed in and using the Syndra's ability to push to actually control an area of the map that you can facilitate. So it should be all about just pushing mid and having Syndra and Rek'Sai fog into river, and then place a pink each, right? Probably a pink in the lane bush, a pink in the pixel bush, and then look to consistently dip into that every time that you have lane priority. Then this can't happen. If this happens at that point, you're in a situation where you just continue your move and they get heavily punished for it. And even if Lee Sin wants to impact this lane, he's now in a 4v3 because Oriana's always going to be really late because Syndra has lane priority. Yeah, so that should be much more on blue team's mind right now, and it obviously isn't. I've seen this just a second ago, and this is obviously a misplay by Blue Spirits, who actually just takes a tower shot they didn't want to. He's trying to get the Q off, and then we just get a late TP. But again, doesn't need to be a TP if this is facilitated correctly, right? So Leona dies, Lee Sin dies. So it does turn out into technically a 3 for nothing. But again, like this just needs to be thought of, like this can be expended without the TP being expended, without so much resources, and without and just consistently as well, much more consistently. I like the area of control. I guess they're going to play into this Drake now. They picked up 3 kills, as they should. They got the push on bot lane as well. So where does Lee Sin play now, right? It's a little bit risky, right? Because his Kai'Sa lane is now behind, um, with regards to their current situation. This Aurelia is ahead, but Ornn doesn't really care that much. Like, he's not losing plates. He's just farming on the tower. He's getting to a point where he's relative, like he's fine in team fights. Sorry, this is part of the stream cut off, so we have to just jump forward. And we actually missed 2 minutes for whatever reason because the way the stream worked and the video. So apologies for that. But um, if we take stock of the situation, right, we're in a situation where it's quite hard for Lee Sin to decipher where he wants to play for. Um, this Horn's happy farming. The Xayah lane is ahead of the Leona Kai'Sa lane, so it's a little bit dicey, and a lot of this stems from draft about where they want to play for. And again, this should not be able to happen, right? The ability for Leona Kai'Sa without facilitation from Lee Sin or mid priority playing this far up without being punished should not be able to happen. It should be that Rek'Sai and Syndra are constantly dipping into this river. And stuff like denial of second blue buff is a key way in which Syndra can maintain moral priority because you're denying. It doesn't even matter if Lee Sin smites it away. It's all about Syndra actually getting the blue buff. Orianna just not getting the blue buff, and Syndra getting a blue buff herself, whether that's her own or whether that's Orianna's, either way, just to facilitate push, because that push is really important into preventing this. This lane does beat Zyra Khan, but it shouldn't beat Zyra Khan in this particular instance when you have the stronger mid 2v2 because you can always play to this side. So some free advantage have been given to this Kai'Sa Leona lane. I don't think they've kind of got the most out of it, but they've got more than they should in the current game state, I believe. And a lot of that stems from not playing through mid in perhaps as forceful way as could have occurred. And again, so the issue that's occurring here is that mid jungle are playing separate. Mid is not a 1v1 role. In competitive play, mid is not a 1v1 role. You have to think of mid as a 2v2 role. And you have to play it like that. And if you play it like that, one team is always at a disadvantage because whichever team doesn't have either has the weaker 2v2 or is pushed in more consistently is left without a member, and you actually split these two up, right? Because Ori's shoved under a tower, and then Lee's trying to contest these plays in his own. And if this is Rek'Sai and Syndra, the only thing Lee can do is just path back into his own jungle, and then that sets up for either stacked waves created on bot lane. So if I just skip over to a Rift Kit, what you'll see here is when Kai'Sa Leona push their wave into the tower of Zyra Khan. If Zyra Khan are able to communicate and coordinate with, communicate and coordinate with their jungler and their mid 2v2, this wave crashes, and then they create a build up. They create a slow push, right? And this slow push, if protected by fogging of jungler and mid, creates a built-up wave that when under tower here is a dive opportunity. And even if Lee's here, really, really hard for him to actually answer that because you just push him out and they just threaten this dive on the Kai'Sa. Or if they back out, you deny the CS. But there can be advantages accrued by the mid 2v2 is the point I'm making, and that's not currently happening by the blue team, and that's really setting them further behind than they should be. And because they're not playing as a duo, stuff like this occurs, right? It's a one-for-one trade in a scenario where Orianna adds no value to the play. So it's basically a 2v1, but it's a one-for-one trade, which should never happen. Okay, so we see Ornn 30 CS down. There is a 100 gold lead on for the red team currently. I guess that's a lot. A lot of that is the Aurelia CS lead. She will spike at Triforce and be really, really powerful. But this, so again, like this is fine. So in the sense of we're now playing through mid lane, but this just has to be in sync with Syndra, you know? Syndra should be playing on the wave. When Ori's trying to push out, you punish. You have multiple gank paths with these tunnels onto this mid lane. And when this occurs, she's stunned by Syndra and she dies. And that's it. It's super simple. But the situation being is that this doesn't occur because if we have a look where Syndra is actually in base currently. So again, example of mid 2v2 just not playing together. They're playing very individually and not together. And really good use of the reset by Leona to actually come straight through mid for her base, because this is a way in which the way in which Team 8 should be playing these early games is that when they get pushed with Leona Kai'Sa, have Leona create a 3v2 mid, so she's mid more consistently than the Rakan is, and then on those windows you could be proactive like this and punish whether that's Syndra or Rek'Sai. Again, doesn't matter too much, but it actually frees up this Orianna who is in the losing 2v2. So really good play from Leona to actually pass through mid off reset. But again, that play needs to be much, much cleaner from blue team with regards to having Rek'Sai Syndra there together. So this Aurelia is winning pretty hard versus the Ornn. And I'm not expecting these teams to be really insane team play, right? They're not teams that have played together a long time or whatever. They don't have coaches, so it is a scouting grounds, and I'm well aware of that. So, but with regards to improvement, these are the kind of steps you need to take to actually take your game to the next level. You know, actually coordinate and playing together rather than playing very separately. Okay, so double flashbang on bot side. There is an area of control in bot side for blue team now. They've got a pink in Pixel Bush and a pink in River Bush. This allows them to control this river, allows Syndra to step into fog and put threat on this Leona Kai'Sa. As you can see, they just stood under tower because they have no idea about this. It's triple pink in bot side river. Really, really good setup. Very clean on that front. Ornn is just still farming away. He's 10 CS down. They're going to concede the Herald on the cross map, which they have to because this is their weak side, so they can't really make these plays on their weak side. And Ornn just has to play to lose as little as possible, right? Which is fine. It is worrying for Team 7 that this already is ahead of Syndra, right? In the circumstance that having lane priority consistently and having stronger 2v2 mid for this to still happen, it is an issue. Absolutely. Okay, so this is good by Aurelia. I think this can potentially happen a little bit earlier. So I think this TP should actually happen now, right? So what would occur here is that if you TP here, then Zaya has a rough decision to make, either commits or doesn't. But there's quite a period of time now before Kaiser gets locked down. So an earlier TP, but the premise is correct, right? Transferring pressure from your strong side to what is technically another strong side, but in this game, for the intents purposes, their weak side, is the way to utilize your strong side, right? So it's about using the strong areas of the map to give gold resources to your weaker sides. Well, in a scenario like this, absolutely. But Zaya does get a lot out of this as well. And is ahead of the curve with regards to um, gold to where she should be at relative to this Kaiser Leona lane in the straight up 2v2 lane. Ornn gets a little bit of free time to catch up as much as he can. Gets crashes a few waves into a couple of waves into the top tower. There is a Mountain Infernal on Team 7 as well, which is going to help them as this game progresses. See what happens next. So I actually think Red Team just needs to be a little bit more decisive here. I think, actually, I guess it's Leona doesn't have ult. That's the issue. But again, this is a symptom of not being a cohesive team. If Leona's going to use priority from the moment she leaves bot lane, Lee should be moving towards her and do wolves afterwards. And Ori should be pushing away as fast as possible and moving together. And you know that you cannot be outnumbered here, and as a result, you can be aggressive on clearing these wards out, right? And you can get control of this area. But because they're not in conjunction, because they're not in cohesion, sorry, this situation is created where even though you are technically more numbers, you have higher tempo, so you have the ability to move in this bot lane. The tempo is just nullified by Lee doing his own wolves when he doesn't need to right now, and Ori obviously being pushed in, which he's going to take a moment to push out. But Lee has to be here, right? And then you know that you're going to be 3v2 for that period of time until it takes Rakan to be there, because you should know how long, how far behind Rakan is. So whether you have 10 seconds of tempo, it's about using that 10 seconds as a resource. You have to think of tempo as a resource that you spend, and at the moment it's being spent very poorly and inefficiently because it's being just spent up by Lee doing his wolves that he can do after the use of tempo. And what occurs is that Rakan actually gets here, and then they're very decisive on their play, blue team, and they kill this Orianna. They get plates on mid. Um, and they start to push. Now they deny mid blue buff. This is something we were talking about earlier. Blue buff denial from the Orianna is just going to give this mid lane priority more to Syndra. and they path as 4-man while Lee is collecting mid-wave to take this bot tower. Okay, game now firmly in control of um, of blue team, right? There are going to be significant spikes that they have to be aware of. So Triforce is one on this Aurelia. This Aurelia is really powerful right now relative to the other people on the team. And when this Kai'Sa completes her Rage Blade, also when Zyra at 2 items, Kai'Sa at 2 items, there is a no contest. Kai'Sa is much stronger. So that is a window where they actually have to be aware of. But once this Zyra hits 3 items, and Ornn is able to push enough to get grouped, then there is going to be a difficulty, real difficulty for red team. So this really isn't worth it, right? So when I was talking about blue buff denial, the point is that your mid laner gets blue buff and their mid laner doesn't, so that you get the push. But Lee Sin getting the blue buff doesn't really mean much, especially not for his flash, you know? So again, to do this without playing with your team, so without having Aurelia moving with you and without Ori pushing and moving with you, this really isn't a worthy move. And all that occurs is that he has to expend ult and flash just for a blue buff, which obviously is not worth it. And it doesn't change the fact that this. Okay, so this is just a bit of, I guess, narrow scoping in the sense that, like, we've just seen um, Leona and Lee Sin and Aurelia all in this topside area, and Ori's just shown mid lane. We don't. There's no need here to actually just step up and look for Scat of the Week on Ori. All that needs to occur is that you need to let this get pushed into you. Rakan needs to move back around to you. Rek'Sai needs to move back around to you. And you need to be ready to just clear wave if you're going to defend this tower. But because she looks for a trade and doesn't have cleanse or anything, obviously gets locked down and, yeah, punished for that. Really think about your role within the game. You know, really important to think about what you're trying to do. And see champion, kill champion is a common mistake that's costs lots of people at this kind of level. It's like, again, right? Like, what's the value of this kill? What's this kill achieve for your team? How does this set up for your team? And it may not even be a kill, right? You're not certain that he's going to get this kill on this Lee Sin at this point. There's no value in just searching for a kill because you can land your skills on an enemy champion. There has to be a reason for it, and that needs to be used in a way that is going to facilitate. Like, you know your mid lane is dead. You know they've got extra people in this area. You are weak in this area comparative to red team. So this doesn't need to happen. What should happen is that you are trying to lose as much as possible. Mid game in League of Legends is a turn-based game, right? So you have a turn, then they have a turn. The aim of the game is to minimize the amount that you lose when it's your opponent's turn and maximize the amount you gain when it's your turn. And the way you do that is trying to lengthen your turn and shorten their turn. And you do that by increasing the amount of tempo advantage you have. So there's multiple ways you do that. We'll see some of them throughout the game. Obviously, killing someone makes it so that they have a period of time without someone on the map, and as a result, your time for your turn is longer, right? So that's a way of increasing tempo. But to coin flip stuff like this, when you already have one less member, you don't have your Syndra, your Ornn is bot lane, your Zyra Arcana pushed in, just for the sake of hopefully getting a kill on Lee Sin, is way too risky to really be a reliable strategy to gain leads. You know, it's quite easy actually here for Rek'Sai just to die and not get anything, and his team just lose a lot. Okay, so one does get a push. I think this is actually just a really late reset. Yeah, she'll late reset by Aurelia. I mean, she loses quite a bit of that wave. So now, off the resets and Syndra being back on the map, it should have been blue team's turn. Rek'Sai is dead. The amount you can now achieve off your turn because Rek'Sai is dead is much less, you know? Because a play like this should be, so this play here should be a mid push into Syndra and Rek'Sai moving towards top tower and zoning Kai'Sa Leona off wave while Orianna collects the mid wave deep and Aurelia collects her wave deep, and you just get this tower for free. But because Rek'Sai is dead, Rek'Sai is not spawned, he's not on the map, so Syndra can't do this, and you can be matched 3v3 and actually lose out on this play. And that's what you have to think about when you're making these decisions of, should I kill this champion? You know, what happens next? What's the actual risk versus reward of a play like that? Okay, so there's two different contrasting styles right here that the teams want to play. Aurelia can kind of group, but she can also play overside. So there's a good chance that they actually just want to play overside with this Aurelia spike of Triforce, and Aurelia just beats this Ornn into submission on the side lane to an extent. This Ornn, however, is all about not what he can get on a side lane versus Aurelia, but about just pushing his lane as far as he safely can and then moving to his team. Because the more grouped up opportunities where they can force fights as a 5-man unit, the better off they are. What needs to occur for Aurelia to actually be able to play this game? Well, I'll actually illustrate this on Riftkit because it's much easier for you to see. Is that she needs to be able to push out her side to be influential on the map. Currently, so the lane assignment is as follows. So the lane assignment's like this. Zyra Kana getting the push into Leona Kai'Sa. Syndra's had the push into Orianna, and Orianna's collecting waves. And Ornn's just pushed a wave that Aurelia wants to push back into Ornn. For the comp to for red team's comp to work now, they have to start with their strongest member, and their strongest member at this point is this Aurelia. This Aurelia needs to be the catalyst to their moves, but because she's pushed in and she doesn't have vision control of this, so this is currently controlled by blue team, she can't safely push because as soon as she does, as soon as she contests wave versus on here, Rek'Sai and Syndra just kill her, you know? So she cannot safely push. So what needs to happen next from red team is that they need to facilitate a way in which Aurelia can safely push her lane. That doesn't mean they need to be in the lane with her and push, but that means they need to create what's known as a bridge to her, or she needs to create a bridge to her team so that she has a safe path from the side lane into them. And we need to they need to push that bridge up as far as possible. So what I'd recommend is having the Kai'Sa Leona move to mid lane and Ori just push wave, like catch wave here. Well, this can actually be Kai'Sa as well, but catch wave, dip into jungle consistently, while support jungle, who now should play much more together. Every time that you get a push and Syndra shows back mid lane, so every time that Syndra shows on this wave, Leona Lee Sin need to be moving towards Aurelia, and Aurelia needs to be meeting them. So Aurelia pushes wave as deep as she can safely, meets them, puts pinks and puts her own wards as well as Leona and Lee Sin, creating a bridge, and they create this line of safety. Then Aurelia can push a bit further, and this line of safety moves up to perhaps here now. And all of a sudden, what happens is that Ornn is actually just getting more and more pushed back, and Aurelia can actually push more. And the aim of the game is to create a situation where Ornn is stuck under tower, Aurelia's pushed in here, and then Aurelia can move and aid this Orianna so that Syndra is the one under pressure. You know, not not the Aurelia. So creating a bridge, or that's called a bridge because you're creating a safe path between your strong side and the rest of your team so that you can actually facilitate the push of your strong member. And all plays currently for red team have to start with this Leona because she's the strongest member on their team. So right now, as I said, even Aurelia, like only because Rek'Sai is shown here, can Aurelia step up to this wave and contest. She's in a really rough situation where like she's like the strong member, but she's getting nowhere near as much as blue team strong side are. So this Zyra can't, right? They're constantly shoving waves into Kai'Sa and taking tower, as well as maintaining topside control. Whereas Aurelia is really not getting anything, you know. Yes, she's 60 CS up on this Ornn, but it doesn't make any difference. And like Zaya's items are more expensive than Kai'Sa's, but she's still at 2 items first. Ornn has now reached level 12. Started to upgrade his own items, as you can see. He's got the upgraded Sunfire Cape. And red team is fighting for control around this Baron area, which is just spawned. The bridge for Aurelia is now harder to create because Baron spawned, so playing away from this area leaves you more susceptible to giving up control. So they're instead just brute forcing off blue team's resets. Topside river control in an attempt to try and make Rakan Rek'Sai show, and if that happens, then Aurelia can actually shove. And we'll just take top tower of their own. They are 2k up. So this, again, really, really risky. Syndra can't do this. Syndra shouldn't do this. There's no, I don't think, it's hard to tell on the VOD view, but I don't think the bush that Syndra Scatter the Weeks from has been swept by blue team. And if it hasn't, she could give away a free Nash here to an extent, you know? Like, just by searching for, maybe Rakan swept it, I don't know. But you'll see in just a second. Okay, he did sweep it. So I guess she knows there's no ward in here. But the point being is that what is the value of actually searching for this like scat of the week in a world where Zyra is going down for Raptors? Zyra's moving down for Raptors. You're 3v4 on the top side. You have less control than they do. You've eat some back, but this stuff like that. If some other CC lands on you and Case follows up with R, you just lose the 3v4, you know, and all of a sudden you put yourself in a like negative map state when you don't need to. It's all about losing as little as possible until it's your turn, and your turn being one where Zaya's back on the map for you. Do we see how this Aurelia is not being able to gain any leverage out of her lead? You know, out of her individual lead versus on, she's really strong, but she's not gonna be able to get anything. You know, because there is no bridge to her. She's afraid consistently every time you don't see Rek'Sai and Rakan of where they might be and whether they can actually punish this lane. And as a result, she cannot play as aggressive as she wants to into this horn. blue team's maintain or regained topside river control. They see Ori bot side. They know they're 3v4. They should be very, very forceful now. They should look to be very, very forceful if Leona, Lee, or Kaiser put themselves in those positions. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the brute forcing pinks when they know Ori was collecting blue. I actually think that rather than recall here, Aurelia, unless you want to like particular item spike, which I don't think so. I mean, even if she completes split senders, whatever, should actually use her priority to move up while Orn shoved in. Should move up towards mid and allow these to walk in here and clear out this vision before they have a team reset. Because by her resetting herself, all she is buying with that reset is self gain, right? She gains a better item reset, but her team can't even reset because they don't even have any control of Nash. They don't know when Nash is going down. They can't really contest this area right now because they're weaker in the 4v4. So they're in a situation where they need Aurelia to start any play. So Aurelia should actually move up towards mid now and allow these to walk in, contest the vision, clear out the vision, and then they can get a team reset off while they have vision control of this and control of the river while blue team are regaining that. And also, so she's using her push for the advantage of her team and not just for the advantage of herself. Otherwise, Ornn now gets a free push off because Aurelia just used her recall for herself. Yes, she got her wits end, so she's stronger versus Ornn. Great. Ornn is going to push this wave, and he should move to his team now. Ornn should move up the river right now. Yeah, that's great. Really good by Frost Fusion here. Moving straight up to the river, knows his role, moving towards the team. Now, it's impossible for blue team to contest, for red team to contest anything, because Aurelia just used her recall for herself and not for the benefit of her team. And all of a sudden, it's a 5v3, 5v4, where Kai'Sa dies. Right? Really, really good play by blue team here to control this. But actually, there was a missed play by red team where Aurelia should be using her prio for the sake of her team. And this is just good vision control. This is just a good setup, right? Where Ornn knew his role perfectly, and the weak side member that's been down all game in relative to Aurelia has already in this game now had a much more significant impact than their strong side champion. And that's the powerful of pick. That's the power of picking a strong weak side champion. This champion does not need to be stronger than its counterpart to be very relevant. Whereas this Leona is much less value as a weak side champion than this Ornn is. And from this point, I think it actually should probably be over, even though there's still like a 1k gold lead on teammate, because now your facilitator of your plays, this Aurelia, is going to find it really difficult to actually push out enough for the time being to match or exert enough pressure to force the group of Team 7 from doing anything. They're going to get consolation prize of this Infernal just off the back of the reset, but all that needs to happen now is that, okay, Kai'Sa is getting picked. Really greedy by Kai'Sa. You really can't do this in an area of non-control. But all that needs to happen now from a team standpoint is that they just need to, blue team need to gate red team. So by gate, what I mean is basically push red team as far back as possible, and then use that push to take the shortest path to these side towers, while someone's already setting up the wave. So whether that's Ornn, whether that's Syndra, whether that's Rek'Sai, is already preparing the wave for you to meet. You just push the wave in deep. You're not looking for a fight. You're not looking for anything. You're just pushing them back as far as possible with the Baron minions, and then you're moving to the connected wave, and that connected wave is allowed to crash because you take the shorter route, and they have to take a long path round after they've cleared mid wave, and vice versa. That's how you systematically get these tier 2s. So this was a little bit risky for me. It worked through brute force. I don't think it necessarily needs to happen. I think what should have happened is off of the base. So let me just see. Sorry. Off of the base, what should have happened is it should have been mid into someone walking immediately here while the other 4 push like this, and then the one person that's walked here through your vision, right? Obviously, you have vision of behind the red and in front of the red, so you're not going to get picked. Walking up to top lane to meet the wave, and then rather than just brute forcing mid, you actually just push them back mid, and as I said before, you gate them into their base, and then you move to the top side where that wave is. If you pick Kai'Sa on the way, then great, like they do. That's pretty much achieved by Rek'Sai by himself. In fact, it is achieved by Rek'Sai by himself. But and I mean, I guess that's their reason why they actually just brute force this, but I don't think they need to even. I think you can just take a safer route and just to the top. But I actually think it's okay once thinking about it. Once Kai'Sa's dead, and Aurelia's half HP, 10% HP. Okay, so they have mid tier 1. First Baron should be used. Primary aim is to get an inhibitor. Second Baron should be primary aim, end the game. Okay, let's see how they use the rest of Baron. So here's Aurelia now trying to be proactive. She's trying to contest the wave versus Syndra, but with Baron. But Rek'Sai did the right thing. He shadows the Syndra, and again Aurelia is now caught. The strong member looks to die. And now pushing it in the side. No Aurelia. 4v4, or 4v3 with Ornn and Ori top side. They take inhib, they move mid, they get mid inhib, and then they move across the short route after gating their opponent to top tier 1. Now there's a 5k gold lead, right? All it is now is just use the rest of your Baron buff, just getting pressure. Maintain and establish topside control. Have 3 or 4 pink wards in this top side. Just clear out any wards that are red teams. Don't let them have their camps. Don't let them have control of this area at all. Like there's 3 wards around this red buff that are red. They should not be there. They should be cleared. And spend the gold that you've got before next Baron, and then you play pretty much the same as you did in the first Nash. For the second Nash, and the game is over. Right? You just let super minions crash. And even if they fight you in this area, they're forced to fight in your area. They have two waves of super minions crashing into their Nexus towers, and they kill Nexus towers insanely quick. If they have someone defending these super minions, then you can do whatever you want in this side of the jungle or around the Baron. Um, the spikes are now less relevant, right? So Zaya's now got 3 items, a stopwatch, and an upgraded Infinity Edge by Ornn. So the spike element is now well into blue team's favor, and the game really, really should be over. So you can be really patient on a play like this, right? You can just wait for super minions to aggress into the jungle. It's really, really hard for this red team to do anything. They can't out 5v5 this team, as you can see. Aurelia is doing like her best, and I think this was played probably almost as bad as it could have been from red team. Like um, Zaya didn't use cleanse, she didn't get much peeling. Rakan didn't use his flash, um, and they very much overextend for kills, but it still is a world where um, it's still a world where they actually come out massively favourable. Okay, so it looks like Syndra's going for next towers. There is not enough time with Kai'Sa being alive when only two of you are alive to end the game. So definitely, if you can't end the game, take triple inhib. Triple inhib means double super minion each wave. That's the difference of having two super minions in their base to having 6 super minions in their base. You literally 3 times the pressure, you know, which is obviously a huge difference. So 100% take this inhib if you think you can't end, and I don't think Syndra thinks she can end, right? But I guess she thinks that getting the Nexus Tower is more valuable than getting the top inhib. Okay, another thing, really, really common error. Have a look at, let's just take stock of blue team's items, right? They are 4k gold lead up or 3k gold lead up. They have a Doran shield in their inventory. They have a refillable pot and a Doran's ring in their inventory. Please sell these items and buy pink woods. You have to have a pink woods slot unless your item slot is more than 850 gold. So the item in that slot is worth more than that. Um, you should have pinks instead. So blasting wand, pickaxe, whatever, those items are fine. But Doran's shield and refillable pot should just be sold for pinks. And you should have a couple of pinks in that slot. And this would allow better Baron control and allow you to actually just close out the game cleanly. They take the Mountain Drake, they now have double Mountain. Baron is super easy to take. You just need to gate your opponent back, force them into their base, clear out all vision in the red side jungle, and then you either just wait for them to face check you, or when they're clearing super beams, you just do dash. You know, super easy. Should be super simple. From what I've heard about this game, I haven't actually seen it, but from what I've heard, um, I believe it doesn't quite go that simply, and it's very sloppy. So even stuff like this is bonkers, right? So Rek'Sai is in a position where he has double super minions going to their base already. He's clearing one lane, Kaiser's clearing the other, and he's moving in on his own for no reason, right? He could walk into 3 people here and they kill him. And then their turn right now that they've just got off their reset, their tempo advantage that they have off this reset, where Kaiser and Aurelia are clearing super minions, so they can only be 3 people. You can just lose right here. You just like lose all this advantage, right? When he just doesn't need to. Just wait 20 seconds for your team to move to you and just clear out all the vision together. You don't need to create these sloppy bits just off being impatient. So there is no real attempt to clear out wards. there is no real attempt to like. So the area of control that they've controlled is this bit, right? When it should be, if you look at the mini map, this bit. They should not even be able to get past this wall, you know, like they should not be able to get into this bush that's here or this bush that's here without being hit by CC. But they're able to get right to hit to this wall quite comfortably without being under too much threat. And that's just not good enough control. It's not good enough setup. Like Ori should never be able to walk here, chuck the ball in, hit three people, and be in a position where they can just see the Nash. You know, the fight should already take place way up here or way up here when um, red team has to deal with super minions in their base. And again, as we've already established, it should be 6 super minions in their base rather than 2. So again, much more difficult to deal with, and probably would have taken 2 people in their base to even clear. And as a result, they'd have to face check as 3 if they wanted any contest on this Nash at all. And if they're doing that, they just die and they lose the game. Game is super easy for blue team to win from here, and should be next to impossible for red team to win. Like the fact that they're not getting engages, not getting clear engages, is just purely off of poor setup. And again, now red team's just buying time where these inhibs are just going to respawn. And when these inhibs respawn, they can actually match 5v5. So again, a better pick. Alright, they do actually land some of their CC on the Ori, who doesn't realise a ward's there. Okay, so they lose their jungler, so they decide to go inhib, and then they try, then they get a bit mixed up, and they try to go for, I guess, the Nexus Tower. They try and brute force, what 2 people do. But their disengage tool of Xayah ult gets used to nothing, and then she gets left alone with Aurelia. She stopwatches, which is okay. Rakan's traded for Aurelia. Kai'Sa gets a good ult off, and red team actually win a fight. So, like, stuff like this is there's value in the review, right? So in a sense of this shouldn't happen, but reality is the mistakes have already been made for this to occur. This should never actually be present in the game. This situation where red team is able to just hit this Nash like this just shouldn't exist. Really shouldn't. And it's all off of the mistakes that blue team made, which is good for blue team, right? Because it's all stuff that they could fix very easily, very simply. But a lot of it's patience more so than anything, and you just end the game off it, right? Just being a little bit more patient, a little bit less greedy, and just working together rather than individually. But these kind of stuff that I don't value the review so heavily because the whole situation from this point shouldn't exist. And again, like this red team really need to be just less greedy. Why walk like this when you know their whole team is here? You know, with Syndra leading on her own, just walk. It's just very careless and sloppy play. Really doesn't need to happen. There should be no way that they just even have a water. It should be just pinks all along here, you know, where they can't see anything. Again, second fight in a row that this team's lost, and they're just gonna get TP'd on and lose the game, I guess. Yeah, really, just sloppy from blue team. That's the only way I can put it. You know, like it was super easy for blue team to clear this game out within 5 minutes. They lose the game through just consistent sloppy errors, which um, doesn't need to happen. But okay, thank you guys. I hope this review taught you a few things, and you're able to get some stuff out of this. Um, Early game, strong side, weak side, and drafting for that. Playing through and playing for. So remember, playing through means your catalyst to the champion which you're going to use to give your resources to your strong side. Um, Playing for means the lane that you're actually giving your resources to, right? And the area of the map you're giving your resources to, and having a clear idea about what you're trying to do with that. Mid game is about the turn-based game. When is our turn? When is their turn? How long is our turn? How do we make our turn longer? Remember the bridging concept? So to to start plays off, you're using your strong side to um, as the catalyst to start your plays, right? So in red team's case here, it was a case of how do we get this Aurelia out lane? They need to bridge to it. They need to move the push from mid lane into the Aurelia, push her vision deeper so that she could push the Ornn back, and then she needed to give back to the team by moving to them to create 5v4 situations. And then after that, it's about objective setup, being less sloppy with the setup, being ensuring that you just deny all chances of the risk. You know, how much risk do we need to take in this particular situation, and risk versus reward assessment. Okay, thank you guys. Hopefully this is helpful. I'm going to do more as Proving Grounds goes on. Please let me know your feedback. Thank you very much.